Hi, this is Odeean. This is a very special video I've had for a very long time coming. You can see here I've got two vehicle Voltrons from Miracle Productions now. On the right I have the one that I reviewed quite some time ago, which was a little bit questionable in its QC. On the left I have a brand new one which I've finally received from Totfreakz, and I've opened it up and had a look, and it is really good. So I'm going to review this and then do some little comparisons with the previous version. But straight off, the boxes are pretty much identical, and I can't see anything from looking at the pictures here to indicate any difference about what's inside. So if you're just going by the picture of the box in listings, you still have to be quite cautious as to what you're getting. You really need to open it up and have a look inside to know if you're getting the new version or not. Let's start the review with my favourite team, which is the land team, and probably the team which for me had the most problems in the previous release, where I actually had some breakages. So you can see that really beautiful all die-cast cars here. They look fantastic, but there are some differences between this and the previous version. So if I flip this guy over, you can see this is a solid base. Now originally it was meant to fold down like this. You can see that there's a plate that kind of slides down like that, so that when Voltron is in robot mode, he's got a solid base to stand on. Now if there's like a rubber surface or a rough surface under there, he won't roll. This is very smooth, so it still rolls, but on a normal ground that keeps him stationary. The new version of Voltron is not so stationary, and there's going to be nothing stopping him from roller skating. I haven't found it to be too much of a problem, honestly, but it's a feature that has been removed. The inside of the toy, which has caused quite a few people problems, hasn't seemed to change very much. Funnily enough, my old version has been getting harder and harder to open like this. The new one does open pretty easily when you push the button in, but I can't see any changes in there, so maybe it's just got to do with fit and finish on the new version compared to the old one. I'm not too sure, but this is a kind of a problematic area of the toy, because in robot mode this is the one piece that tends to come undone when you wish that it wouldn't. The two forearm pieces seem to be pretty similar, but when I pull this apart I have to be quite cautious, because I can see the rubber on mine is compressing a little bit and starting to move in. I didn't get that problem with the original release, but the shape of that looks a little bit uncomfortable to me, and I'm trying to avoid using it too much, because the last thing I want is for that to fall inside. You can see that this panel is a little bit loose, so there are some issues going on with this new version, but I haven't found anything major yet. The really huge change comes in this waist piece. Now this is like an entirely new piece. It looks the same, but the changes are just amazing. So first of all, these panels which fold shut here, if you remember on my previous version it would never fold shut. You can see up here there's a huge gap because I had a molten die-cast piece of slag inside that stops it from closing. That was really disappointing. No longer the case. Secondly, these plastic panels here don't seem to be slathered with thick, shiny black paint anymore, and they seem to be crisply molded. On the old version, they're kind of squashed and ugly, so that's another big change. And the real killer change, the very necessary change to make the toy not disintegrate, this whole track piece is kind of one molded detail now. Now it still feels like it might pop off if you're not too careful, but these wheels no longer roll, they're just fake wheels. With the old one we had some real wheels here, and I don't want to do it, but I don't want to break it. I've kind of super glued it, but these things smashed for me on the first time that I was using it and stopped it from being able to form the Turbo Terrain Fighter, I think it's called, which is the combined mode. So this was a terrible design with really thin plastic that snapped super easy. The new one, even though it doesn't roll, I don't care, it's much stronger and much better. Let's go for it and make the Turbo Terrain Fighter. So these panels are going to want to come out. I'm just going to raise these guards a little bit so I can get my finger in there and bend them down. I think that's what we need to do. Let's unfold all this business and just give myself a little bit of room to work here, because what I want is for them to face forwards like this. You can hear there's a ratchet in there. Now the ratchet is getting a little bit weaker since I bought it. It was really super tight to start off with. It seems like just friction, plastic on plastic, so it is kind of degrading a little bit, but this is going to be a display piece, so it's no big worry. I think now what we've got to do is fold those in like that and then just close it up. Am I doing that right? Maybe close that up first, and then the sides will tab in and hold it all nice and secure. Okay, this bit at the back still needs to sit flat. So what we're going to do now is grab the cars, depress the little button here, and give it a shake just to loosen that up. I want to flip it around, depress the button again, and push it back in. I'm going to do the same with the other side, pushing the button, shake it open, turn it around, push the button again, and then just pop it back in. This next part is kind of tricky. What I want to achieve with both forearms is what I've got here, where it's sitting nice and flush to the back section. It's not easy to achieve this, and I don't think that I can successfully do it on camera. So there's two steps here. One of them involves depressing this little button while we push it in, and that is very important. You don't want to break the figure. But the other part of this involves these spring-loaded nubs here, which are locking points. Now, if you're lucky, you'll depress the button and push it on, and it will just go on like that. I am lucky, it worked here. With the blue side, it would not happen, and what I needed to do was hold this on my lap and gently prod that little spring-loaded nub with the screwdriver just to get it under the lip of the edge of the forearm there, because it wouldn't go in, and force, like excessive force, was going to be needed and it would have broken it. The spring went up and down fine, but it just needed a little bit of help. So lucky enough, it's happened right when I showed it with the red. The blue didn't work so good. So if it happens to you, just fiddle with it a little bit. These cars snap in so much better than with the previous version. Done. Now, it's not super strong. You wouldn't want to pick it up. Let's do the other side before I keep yapping away. There we go. I mean, you wouldn't want to pick it up and carry it very high off the ground like that, because I got a feeling they're going to fall out and you'll smash your lovely toy. But it works. Amazing. This one didn't work. This one splintered into 3 or 4 pieces and made me disgusted with it. Now finally I have a nice turbo terrain fighter. Still proportion wise a little bit off here, but it is nice from some angles like that. The next thing I want to show is the C team, my second favorite team. And again, I am happy now. So if you've seen my previous video, you can rub that kind of out of your mind. This toy is worlds ahead of the previous version. So where can I start? Let's start with this guy. A perfect example of what has been fixed is, look at that. We've got a straight line running right across here and right across this movable part at the front. Compared and contrasted to this older version, we have a straight line running across here and whoop, off. It is ridiculous. One more click, now it bends down. On top of that, the old version, this thing, it gets stuck up in there and it is a real pain in the ass to get out. You need a screwdriver, basically. What a piece of crap. Let's look at the front. You see warped and misshapen plastic up here. Looking at the front of the new version, beautiful, even, symmetrical halves. It has been fixed. Why they sold me this piece of shit, I don't know. The excuse was they released it to a very limited amount of customers. Well, I don't know. Why release it at all if it doesn't work? Anyway, I'll get more into that at the end. But now, the new version, great. The next thing I want to focus on is this little submarine dude. At first glance, it seems pretty similar to the previous version. Nice little guy, represents the character pretty well. Let's have a look and see what's different. Okay, so here we've got a pin. Here we've got a bulge around a pin with a flat head. Flipping it over, again, there's kind of a flat head on that pin. I never experienced any problems with this pin, and until I saw the new version, I wasn't aware that there was supposed to be a problem about the pin coming out. Maybe I'm just lucky, but at least this has been changed to stop the pin coming out. Something else to note is that this paint seems to be like they wanted it to be matte. Glossy. In some places like here it is glossy and chipped, as you can see, but kind of wears thin so it doesn't reach gloss all the way around. With the new version, the paint is lustrous and glossy on the top, on the front, and even the chromed section here is nice and glossy. So I'm happy with this. It has been improved. On the inside, not much difference to speak of, except for this black piece of plastic is still black. With the old one, it seems to be painted white. It doesn't really show up on the outside. I don't know why they went to the trouble of painting that one white. Maybe they didn't think it through. And then one other little minor nitpick. The old one had the paint rubbing off. This one has no such issue. Finally, the little center section has been changed a bit too. So this is fresh out of the box, and you can see a nice clicky snap there for Voltron's ab crunch. Not impossible to do. This guy, when it was out of the box, that was so hard. It was virtually impossible to do. Now I've done it a few times, it's kind of sounding broken and has become too easy. So whatever they stuck in there is kind of ruined. Looking at the two, you can see again the same issue. The paint's a bit more lustrous over here. The swivel is visible. I mean, what I mean by that is that I can detect that swivels. So I can't do it with my hand, not enough leverage, but I can see that it's there. With this guy out of the box, when I first got it, it was so tight I was unaware that it had a swivel, although now it has loosened up a bit, but it was just manufactured too tight. This one seems to be done just right. Combination. So what do we got to do? Let's open this, pop that out with our hands. Let's do the same to the other side. Pop this gizmo out, leave them open for a moment, grab these and give it a push. Close that little gap, push the other one. Should be able to snap this in. Great, it's working really nice. What do I want to do now? Fold this around. Oh, it's so clicky, so nice and clicky. Seems to work really well. And the reason I keep these open is because to join this on, I like to keep my finger in there. Push down on this tab, push that in. There we go. Nice, strong connection. I just keep my finger in here so it doesn't collapse in on itself while I do it. It was more necessary with the old version. The new version, it seems to work better. It's also less floppy. I mean, look at that. It's straight. The box art actually shows this drooping. The old version's still on the box art. The new version really doesn't have a lot of droop. It's pretty fantastic. I mean, I know I'm seeming very positive on this video, and that's because there is a lot to be positive about. It's improved. Like, all my issues with the version that I got before don't seem to exist. Moving on to the Air team, who form the Strata Fighter. My least favourite, just because it looks like a conglomeration of parts that don't really belong together. More massive fixes with this. So what am I going to start with? Let's start with the head. First glance it might seem pretty similar, but what you notice is the doors are staying shut. So this guy, came right out. I'm not going to put it back in here, but you get the idea. Also, look at this. When I tilt it, it's splitting apart. It seems to be just glued together and pretty crappily. So let's move him down there. These doors still closed, and they do open. I don't want to give you any illusions. They're not glued or blue tacked. They just stay by themselves. I mean, they're not perfect. You can see that given the right situation, it will split, but it does its job now, which is good. Now, this ball joint is, I don't think it's glued together anymore. It's popped in with a kind of rubber seal, just like the wrists. So I can actually pose Voltron's head now without splitting the joint in half and making my toy useless. Fantastic. You know, that is a major advance. I couldn't move Voltron's head. Can you believe expensive toy and I can't even move its head before. Now I finally can. That's really good. The next huge deal that has been fixed is with the arm. So look at this. You might be thinking, well, what am I looking at? It's an arm. Well, what you're looking at is this old version of the arm had a screw rammed in there with such an incredible explosive force that it went right through this piece of plastic and out the other side, resulting in an arm that is not joined together, meaning that my toy was almost going to fall apart each time I moved it, and I had to hold it shut when I'm moving the arm around. What a piece of crap that was. On top of that, some weak paint here, you know, a fingerprint in the paint or plastic or whatever on that side, pretty weak. If I look at this guy, he's just solid, he's done. The paint is more lustrous, no cracks, the screws are tensed, is that a word? Torqued? That's more like it, torqued just right. If there's any issue at all, it's probably still that the tail tends to flop down a little bit, but done a lot better. So the major defect, gone. It's probably worth noting that a few people in the first version had this piece missing. I never had that piece missing, but it's pretty nice. Also, maybe this works a little bit better than on the old version, but I never had huge issues with that to start off with. Now to join them together to form Strata Fighter. So how do we do this? If I remember correctly, I think we depress, I'll pull this and rotate that into this position. Grab, this guy goes on that side. Now remember, to do the tab, what we need to do is tilt out the panel. There's a little button on the back which you've got to push in order to tab this in. So I'm going to push it in, depress it, stick it in, it's locked really securely. If you don't depress that, you're forcing it and you will break it. So that's one side. Pull out the other side. I'm going to depress the tab, slot it in. Beautiful, works beautifully. What have I done here? Maybe that will help. Okay, the magnet on the head is so much better now. I'm going to just stick it there. It works really good compared to before. It fits better. There's no bumping the sides. It just goes in. It's really good. This one on top just sits there. That's it, our Strata Fighter. And as I said, I don't like the Strata Fighter. It looks like a pile of things that kind of got super glued together. Never been a fan of it, but at least it's pretty authentic. It's done how the old style one was done, which is what we really want from this, and I'm happy with it too. Now it's time to form Voltron, so we can leave a lot of these pieces how they were. So for example, the car I'm going to leave up like that. We get clues to which side things have to be on by the asymmetry of the individual pieces. So like if I get these two things, these are clearly not going to go together because the car will be off to one side. So whether that's accurate or not, I don't know. If I go back to my old Matchbox Voltron, the way this guy goes together is not accurate according to his box art, but who's to say what's right and what's wrong? Maybe the box art is wrong. But anyway, that slots together. We're going to leave this out because there's a button here that needs to be depressed for combination. Same thing on the other side. Don't go crazy with the force here, you can pop that off. So anyway, we've got two legs. That's right. Now this is the part from Turbo Terrain Fighter. It stays the same, except we're going to flip this out of the way. Grab these ankles, tilt inwards like that, so it has to go on this side. Depress this button and slot it on, and now I'm experiencing the same problem with those little things that I was forming the Turbo Terrain Fighter. Come on! I don't want to break it, but I'm sick of using the damn screwdriver. I just played with that off camera for 5 minutes. I couldn't get it on at all, so I swapped the thighs around and it seemed to go. Now something's wrong because now we end up with colours mismatched rather, which I don't think that's how it went. And it has to be that way because the ankle tilts are like this. So the lower leg has to stay that way. At least on mine, the thighs have to go this way. It's not a big deal. I'm not even convinced that I'm right to begin with, so I'm happy to live with it. So next I grab Strata Fighter, and I'm just going to pull off the head and the chest so that I don't drop them. But grab this guy. Now we can go by the fist. Again, the asymmetry tells us where it's meant to go. Here's the fist, so clearly this has to go on this side. And where's the little button? Depress the button, push it on. Pretty easy to lock on. Depress this button, push it on. Oh, is that in? There we go, pretty easy to lock on. That's most of the body done, making sure that bit is kept in. We're going to grab this. Now the crunch, the ab crunch, where is it? I think goes upwards. Is that right? Just right. Let's do it the other way around. Okay, will only fit on in one way, so you've got to do it the right way. There's no fooling around. Start with the bottom because it's a smaller hole. The top will fit both sides, but not securely. The bottom will only fit it one way. Plug this in. Head goes on. Chest goes on. And I'll form the head, Voltron's face open. It's pretty damn nice. I can't tell you how happy I am to have this now compared to the other version. I thought I was happy with the other version, honestly. I had grown accustomed to it. This guy is just better. So all the little defects are kind of gone. Now look at this. I know I said I can pose the head. I can do this, no problem. I'm going to pull it right off. You see that? A ball joint with rubber in there. The head can actually pop off and back on again without any big deal. Happy. Clicky arms. Some clicks on the elbow, although you can't hear them. It's really nice. It's actually a good figure. I can't believe it. Now look at this, not popping open. So I'm going to move the armor a bit so I can articulate that leg on camera. Not popping open. I can't believe it. Where's the other one for comparison? So, at least visually, a cursory examination of it doesn't reveal a lot of big differences on camera just like this. I mean, the main thing you can probably see is the colors. This one's a little bit more vibrant. It's time to look at the accessories. So we get a full assortment of hands, the grabbing hand like this. So this is my new grabbing hand. It's done just as good as the other one. Putting that down, here is the new weapon holding hand, and you can see it splits in half and no breakage issues. You can see nice even paint here. If we get our chromed up star, we can, what do you call that, a blade, rotor blade, we can put that in here and grab a hold of it. So this blade is still nice and shiny and chrome, and you can hold it like that. In comparison, here's the grabbing hand off the, like the holding hand off the previous first version set, and it looks like thick globs of horribly applied paint, as if someone had just sprayed this on with a spray can. So that was really quite bad. No such problems with the new one. Putting that down, we get a nice chrome silver sword. We were promised a metal sword. We did get an exclusive blue sword on both sets. I couldn't give a shit about the blue sword. I'm not even going to show it. It's just like, oh wait a minute, I will show it just for the sake of completeness. Chromed blue sword. Okay, I don't really care about that one. Put it aside. Interesting though, there have been some changes, and depending on your point of view, maybe for the worse. Now, this is the original gold chrome sword we get. The new version of the gold sword is actually just painted gold. It's not chrome. I actually am okay with that. I think it looks better, so that doesn't bother me. But where we get to the problems, where I'm not happy, here is the original extended version of the spear. Here is the new version. Sprayed on, not chromed. Much uglier. Looks not so good. I don't know why they did that on the new version. Here is the original version of this long spike thing. I don't know what this is, a lance maybe. Really nice and chromed, metal rod, shiny silver at the end. Here is the new version, sprayed on, pretty piss poor appearance. So that's not so good. What else do we have? We still have a rubberized electro whip. That's still pretty cool. And we get 2 short versions of the spear, which are also not chromed. I don't know why they're not chromed. Thank God I've got the chromed ones. I can swap them around and have one really good version. But these look like they're from a totally different toy now, and I'm not too happy with those. So basically we got a good Voltron figure capable of hitting pretty good poses. Still some balance issues with a lot of die cast on top, and now his feet are rolling. You can see a little bit vulnerable to falling over. But let's detach the camera here. It's pretty nice. I mean, stick some blue tack under those feet, stick him on a shelf, and you've got an awesome Voltron. I mean, look, bicep swivel, come on. How many toys have we missed out on bicep swivels? That's pretty awesome. Clean cut. No paint dribbles, fingerprints, none of that crap in this guy. Really nice. Let's do some size comparisons. Here's Voltron with my metal composite Psycho Gundam that I reviewed the other day. 2 big guys, a little bit bigger than Gundam. Here's Vehicle Voltron with God Sigma, another big robot figure, that combining robot figure. Not as much die cast, but as far as SOCs go, it's a good representation of the size, I think. I mean, there's other bigger guys like Odeean who I've got, and maybe even God Mars would look good with this guy being a lot of die cast. But got God Sigma out today, and you can see he fits right in with a lineup of big guys like that. Now, I wouldn't call the quality on Voltron here anywhere near the quality on God Sigma. For me, my Bandai products, everything that I've got from them has been so close to perfect that I guess you could just call them perfect. This Voltron still has little bits and pieces. If you want to zoom in and look at any individual spot, you will find like cuts where the sprues have been removed, and like things don't fit precisely together. Like let me show. Like for example, you can see there was a sprue here and it's rough where it's been trimmed. Maybe if I move up to the shoulder here, you'll see that some of the seams don't exactly fit together. There's a bit of a paint blemish there. So, you know, it's not SOC quality. And you only really see stuff like that with zoomed close on in high def photography of the figure, or if you're really looking close. When it's sitting on a shelf from a few feet away, you don't notice those kind of imperfections, and it's quite satisfying. But as I said, if your fun of toys comes from super high def crisp photos, then you will see the things that aren't quite as good. Like if I move over here to God Sigma, look at that clear plastic on the front, look at the crisp sharp edges on him. Like I can't see a defect. The way Bandai do their high-end stuff, you just can't beat it. It's pretty perfect. This is the part of the video where I have to really mention the backstory of this Voltron, because it's gone on for so long, it's kind of amazing. So back in, I think, April of 2012, prototypes of this appeared with David Oakson Collection DX, and that's how I first heard about Totfreakz. I went ahead and paid $260 for this figure and waited. So everyone waited for a really long time. To cut a long story short, there was a lot of communication issues, and people started getting upset. A lot of people cancelled their orders, or tried to cancel their orders, according to threads over at Robot Japan. I held on to mine for a very, very long time, and I had a lot of hope that it would finally come through. Subsequently, Miracle Productions kind of screwed over Totfreakz by offering this for sale at a much cheaper price in other places after they had released this terrible version back here and ruined the reputation of the figure and kind of the businesses offering it. They went ahead and fixed everything into this guy and started selling it online and undercutting Totfreakz, which was really a rotten thing to do. And I feel terrible for David Oakson and Totfreakz because I think that's destroyed his business. And he's said in a couple of places that he is actually going out of business because of this figure. I don't know how accurate that is, whether this figure is the cause of him going out of business, but it definitely, there was a lot of bad feeling generated because of this. Now, not all innocent. He's not totally innocent in this. I mean, I tried to communicate with that company quite a lot of times and never got any response. And I held on to hope for a very long time that I would get the figure. A couple of months ago, I gave up that hope because I just didn't get communication. I tried to raise a claim with Visa and PayPal to get my money back because I thought I was being scammed, and that fell through. I couldn't get my money back. So at that point, I thought, this is it. No communication, no product, no way to resolve it. I kissed the money goodbye. I went to the thread at Robot Japan, said that's it, didn't get my money back, and I forgot about it. Game over. No bad feelings, really. I mean, you risk something. When you go to a business that you don't know on the internet and you buy something that's expensive, there's always a risk. If somebody else sells it cheaper, that doesn't really make me angry. That didn't make me angry. A lot of people seem to be pissed off at that. I was not one of them. I just wanted the figure for the price that I had paid, and didn't seem like that was going to happen. So then about maybe a month ago, Totfreakz sent me an email saying order complete and posted. It turned out that wasn't entirely true. If you look at the tracking for this, it only got posted less than 2 weeks ago, but it's in my hand now, so I'm really, really glad that I've got it. And although I was angry about the lack of communication, I want to point out that David Oakson definitely deserves some credit for following through on this and getting the figure out to the people who bought it. Now, I'm not sure if everyone's received it yet, but I got a feeling I'm probably one of the last ones to receive it. Now, he had nothing to gain by sending me this figure. According to him, he's going out of business, and I live in a different country, and the credit card companies and what have you couldn't resolve it. So if he never paid me, he's already had, if he never sent the toy, he's already had a lot of bad feeling from people over this. I don't think there was really anything to lose. So the fact that he did send this out, I think it tells something about him and his company, that he wanted to kind of clear his name a little bit by getting this into the hands of the people who had paid him for it. And you know what? In my mind, it does clear his name quite a bit that he sent this out, because it's clear that that's his only motivation to me in sending this, is to not be that guy who ripped people off. So in the years to come, when that saga gets looked at and talked about, he isn't brought up as the one who did the thing that was, not following through. So he did follow through. I've got it. Proof is in my hand, and it's hard to communicate with him any other way. So thank you, David Oakson, for sending out my vehicle Voltron. I really appreciate it, and it is a great figure. No QC issues. I won't have anything else to complain about. That's really great. So my final thoughts are that this is, I think, available now for about $200 on eBay. Definitely worth $200, and there is nothing wrong with this. Any worries that you had based on reviews of this, like especially my review, I think I got like 20,000 views of this crappy toy. Forget all that. That's gone. This is a much better figure. Still, we've got some ankle issue here, but I'm manhandling it a bit now. It is definitely worth getting, and I think that now is the time, given that Bandai failed to do the Lion Force Voltron, or the Go Line as they're more likely to call it. Toynami and their freaking license got renewed. I don't think that there's much chance anymore of Bandai doing Dairugger or Vehicle Voltron, and that's really sad, because I know it would have been something really special. But I mean, in the meantime, we do have this figure, which is, at least 3/4, maybe 90% of the way to getting a solid Chogokin. I mean, it's not perfect. It's not perfect. Bandai would have given us a perfect one, but for at least a few years, we're going to have to live with this, and I think that it is worth it and should definitely go out and get it. Anyway, that's my video review for the Miracle Productions Vehicle Force Voltron. I'm Odeean. Thank you very much for watching.